We're gonna now try to do this boss that I stumbled upon. And we'll see if that's gonna work. Pull up the old channel here and see if got a there we go, there's a broadcast. Now I can see chat if I want to, it's on my phone. Alright. Now, let's see how many times I have to die here.
No need to get round.
Like punching me in the back. Oh, that's fun. He's like swinging me around in circles.
Can't you leave us alone?
I don't have any abilities to use. So that did some damage.
I'm coming.
Why don't you take a nap with me?
I'm just so tired.
Oh, she's in sleep mode.
Partner.
Look at this, like getting smashed with a giant sword. It just like doesn't bother him at all.
Here it comes. Steady.
Soldier.
Let's see, cure cloud. There we go.
Get him.
Do that focus thrust again.
Try this.
He's doing this again. Swings me in circles like it's the WWF from the 80s.
There.
Oh no, we want. Let's do that one more time.
You're done.
Alright.
Let's do this.
One more.
Oh. That. Oh, broke one of his glasses. Broke his glasses.
So, you had enough yet?
No, I don't believe that I have.
For a dude in a suit, man, this dude is like tough.
Just stop it.
Can't. It's my job.
Like how I worked up to that stagger and then it's like, oh, a limit burst. Yeah, let's do that.
You're as good as dead.
That's it. Cloud's pretty strong, isn't he?
I've seen this type before.
You don't know me.
Okay.
Oh, that hurt. Whoa, run away!
How's that payback working out for
You gotta get like a VTuber voice. Run away!
Better than expected.
The Turks are much more impressive in this version than the original. Yeah, he looks like a hitman, dude. I mean, that black suit. Some serious armor there.
Hang back.
No, but this is self-defense. Stay strong, okay?
I managed to get that one off.
Try this. Here it comes. Here we go.
Get him!
I see you.
Pay attention.
That's it! Here goes. You can do it.
Take it over.
Okay.
Focus thrust again.
Don't overdo it.
I'm coming!
That's
This
enough.
one's for you! Can't keep eyes.
Why don't you... That sleep spell.
Steady.
Good morning, guys.
All good. I'm waiting.
I'll take care of him. Get him! Stop it! You jittery? It's your turn.
Take it over.
There we go. Defeated him. I like how his
Just
lens
leave
came
us
back
alone.
for no reason.
You know I can't do that.
Bald dudes get thrown in the same pot. It's like I've always thought like being bald and having a beard is a little weird. Like the hair just stops at your head rather than like in an extension of your hair.
Back here now.
Understood.
Cloud could be a waifu. It's 2020, dude. You got to be
Got
like,
somewhere else to be?
you got to think a little bit more, a little bit less transphobic. If a dude can't be your waifu, come on.
Go home and stay there.
You know I can't do that.
You know I can't do that. I'm wondering what that delivery seemed weird. Like I don't really get the meaning behind that. Cloud is definitely like twink mode though. Like, let's be honest. Looks like a twink. If you don't know what a twink is, I guess you don't know that many gay people. But you know, one of the things I do appreciate is like he looks more. He still looks pretty skinny, but he looks way more muscular in this one than, like, at least the art for the original. In the original, it was such a 90s thing. I hate to say like everything's 90s, but that's how it was. It's like he looked like this weird, very thin guy with a giant sword. So it was all very stylized. A lot of stuff in the 90s had these really exaggerated proportions to it. Coming out of Japan, especially if you look at if you read any like 90s manga, there's a lot of exaggerated body proportions.
You coming?
A lot of stuff with like 9 to 10 heads even for say the body length, which I'll talk about maybe in some other videos. But that basically means, you know, a real person has like a 6.5 head tall body. And so if you read a lot of manga or manga, I say it the American way, I don't care. And if you read a lot of manga, one of the things you'll notice is that a lot of times they have a taller proportion, 7, 8 heads, and then in a lot of them they have like more than that, like 9 or 10 heads. They're very elongated, so they have a very extreme kind of exaggerated proportion to them, like longer arms and everything.
You talking to the...
So kind of went with
So,
it that a
yeah,
lot of the art from this
it was
was
that kind of day.
in that direction, kind of exaggerated. There's a lot of manga in the 90s was like that. I'm not really sure why, but it was like a style. This definitely is a great looking game, and I actually have like a post processor on this too that you guys can't see.
Hey,
I think you're watching in 720p,
Good work today, guys.
but I have like an external post processor for my PlayStation.
Kidding.
It looks
He
good.
didn't say a word. But, you know... never mind. It's not like you'd believe me after all.
probably not. Tell me anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
It won't be much longer now. The flowers, they
Final
have
cutscene 7.
something important to tell us. Something they need to share with us. At least
This is gonna be
that's the
like
feeling I get.
the planet's dying because of Baco.
But before they can, there's a final step that has to be taken.
Yeah, Nomura did like
Otherwise,
characters to be
we
thin.
won't hear them.
When are you gonna start your bodybuilding series? Once I have a body worth showing with my shirt off.
I should just give up.
So if I'm really diligent,
Honestly, it's
7
what
more
I do
weeks.
best.
If you mean like a bodybuilding video series.
From what I've seen, you're no quitter.
Well,
My friend
today's
Mike was
special.
asking me like, why don't you
That's
film
why I'm
like your
working my
gym
butt off.
workouts and stuff? I'm like, there's so many guys that do that look a million times
So
better than
special
me.
about it.
Be like, well, here's this like slightly chubby dude lifting
Okay,
weights.
time to
Who
go.
cares? So I gotta peel the fat off first. And honestly, like, at least 80% of your physique is just
Did
your
the flower
body
say
fat.
anything?
Get your body fat low and you're gonna look great, especially to women.
Work today, guys?
You know, little secret is like,
That's the spirit.
you don't need to be huge or any. In fact, if you're huge, women, like past a certain point, women are not super into it. But you know, if you're big, women are fine with it. You're not going to be too big. Anybody that's like, I don't want to be too big, you're never going to be too big. Trust me. But like your body fat, the lower your body fat, the more, just the better women are going to like it. It's just the truth. You know, the whole. Just look at romance novels. Dudes with abs as far as the eye can see. Why is it just abs? You never even really see the arms sometimes. It's like, it's the abs, man. Get your body fat low. And, you know, it'll make a lot of sense. I don't think I'm actually going to try for super low body fat with this diet. I've done that before and you feel kind of miserable. Like, I want to get down to a more athletic body fat percentage and then just kind of keep it over winter. And then if I want to get like, you know, down to 10% or, you know, something like that, then I can do that pretty easily in like March. Just do like another 6-week diet where you cut your calories a couple hundred a day. It's really easy. You're never hungry. And then, you know, at the end of it, you look really good. So anyway, you know, maybe one day. It's like I should have done more videos when I was in really good shape. I do have allergies, really bad allergies right now. Is Cloud an asshole? Kind of, but I think he's supposed to be kind of a bad boy character if I were to put him in an archetype. He's a mercenary, but he has a heart of gold. You know, he clearly cares about Aerith, he cares about Tifa, he cares about all the people in Avalanche, which is why he does it, but he pretends to be, you know, a more Han Solo-like character. So I think I actually really do like this game. Final Fantasy VII. Wait.
Nah, not quite yet.
I don't think I have any quests, do I? I'm not seeing any. I think we did all the quests. Wait. Yeah, I forgot you can zoom out. It's a big map. All right. Yes, let's go back to Aerith's
You're heading
house.
in already?
Yeah. Was I?
No,
Oh, I
not
clicked
quite
no
yet.
again. What am I doing? Dad bod. You know, here's the thing too. I think it was Golden One did a video on Jason Momoa. Someone took a picture of him and they're like, Jason Momoa's dad bod. What happened to his abs? And it's like, dude, that photo could have been shot the same day as the one where he had like ripped abs. It's just like his core was relaxed. He had some salty food the day before. May just woke up. He didn't know someone was taking a picture of him, and like, it makes a difference. It's like, oh, he has a dad bod. No, his core was relaxed. Doesn't look fat at all in the picture, you know. But a lot of that stuff, you know, there's so many little tricks to like the way that if you look at Instagram models, you have a terrible idea of what you think you're supposed to look at until you learn some of their tricks, like lighting. So if you light yourself from like the directly above or the side, all of a sudden you'll be like, whoa, man, I can see all my muscles. It's like that high contrast lighting, and it's why a lot of dudes, when you look at the if you watch like bodybuilding shows, they do a lot of lighting on the front. It makes them look really flat and washed out and not nearly as just freaking shredded as bodybuilders actually are.
I've been worried.
You know, that makes him look smaller. Then you meet him in real life, and you're like, this dude's huge. I met Jay Cutler at the gym in Vegas.
Great.
I saw a bunch of pro bodybuilders at that gym.
Gotcha.
It's Gold's Gym on Flamingo, a legendary gym. Is the gym I went to, and boy, you saw some big dudes. Like I met Jay Cutler, and this dude was like 5 inches shorter than me, and probably 100 pounds heavier. And like this is like prepping for Olympia. This dude was shredded to the bone, and I'd never met a person as big as him.
But would you leave tonight without any fuss, no questions?
Until like,
You boys made a
you know,
trade
yeah, basically he was the
with
biggest
normal
person
life for power. You
I'd ever
can't
met.
have it both ways.
I'm back.
Good. Now, I hope you're hungry.
Starving, right?
Yeah. Blobam says Natty Huge is usually the break-off point for women, to be honest. There's a point to that, right? Which is like, why aren't men into like really fake breasts? It's because it's not
I've never been
real
so
biology.
proud.
You know, it doesn't look right.
The man you've become. Women must be hounding you day and night.
Not really.
YouTube thinks I'm streaming Tales
You know,
of
there's all
Zillia, by the
kinds
way.
of temptations in the big city.
PlayStation's supposed to like automatically
I'd feel
fix
a
that.
lot better if I knew you'd found a good girl, one who'd make sure you didn't get into trouble.
I can take care of myself.
An older, more mature girl that could keep you on the straight and narrow and tell you when you're being a silly goose. That's the perfect type for you, I'd say.
You gotta sleep with your sword by your bed.
Don't want to overstay my welcome.
I tell you, one of the underrated things for the main characters here, they really did a lot of facial animation work, so a lot of the faces just look way better in this game than I've seen them in most games. You know? Square Enix is actually really good at that. Like, I remember seeing Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 13 is like 10 years old now. And I was like, what? Like, these are PlayStation 3 graphics? No way. Like, they looked so photorealistic. And they still look good. Like, Final Fantasy 13 still has great aesthetics. And the character models, at least the main characters, still really hold up. Try to sneak out of the house without letting Aerith spot you. Be careful not to bump into anything by accident. Aerith will notice if you make too much noise. Interesting. David, who's your favorite Final Fantasy main character? I don't know. I like Cecil from Final Fantasy IV. He has such a great journey, and he learns so much. He goes from like controlled Dark Knight to Paladin of Light. So I like him a lot. I think Titus is actually like one of my least favorite from Final Fantasy X. I'll just throw him out there. And I really like Zidane from Final Fantasy IX. He's like Thief with a Heart of Gold. Just a great character. Really likable. Really fun to play. Good animations. I love the little love story in Final Fantasy IX where he like can't express his feelings and stuff. That stuff, you know, those are some of my favorite things. Who else? Like those are probably the big ones. If you're doing Final Fantasy Tactics, of course, like what's his name? Main character from that. Oh, what's his name slipping? Ramza. Beowulf. Yeah, he's a great character too. It's like a super noble character. Yeah, Jay Cutler was in his prime. This was like 2000. This was the year that he got second to Phil Heath. And God, man, I never, when you see him in person, that's when you realize how big these pro bodybuilders are. They are huge, man, and strong. Like Jay Cutler's like he's like, I'm a volume trainer. And the guy does,
What are you doing?
Oh, whoops, I already got caught.
Did you have a bad dream? Don't worry, you'll feel much better in the morning. And I promise to take you straight home.
Okay.
All right, I didn't sneak enough, guys. I wasn't sneaky enough. The stealth sections of this game are legit.
Please don't let her hear me again.
Mr. Sin cripples back to their wheelchairs. Jake Cutler's in really good health compared to, say, Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman, like, destroyed his body doing all that ridiculous. He squat like 800 pounds and stuff, which is a lot. Cloud's a silly goose. Who doesn't sleep with their sword next to their bed? I should sleep. My sword's in my office. I actually have a foam buster sword in the other room that I got at like a Halloween shop because my son thought it was cool. He calls it the Barbarian sword, and he thinks it's Conan's sword. And then I don't really play this game with him around because it's got some naughty language, but he knows it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's Conan's sword. Why does he have it?" Do I have to? I'm guessing I have to like go really slow here, like this. Oh, I bumped into the bucket. There's a bucket there.
You jerk! I thought I told you not to leave your room. Now get back in there.
Why is he disobeying her? It's like, you should tell her I was just trying to go into your room. See how that flies. She's such a goody two-shoes character. Yeah. Yeah. As far as thinness goes, I would rather be the guy who's like the hard gainer but thin and can keep low body fat easier than... Like, I'm very endomorphic. I hold on to body fat really easy, and it's basically hereditary. Like, everyone in my family was that way. You can change it. It's up to you. But if I picked one, I'd rather... the grass is always greener. I'd rather be the thin guy. All right, the bucket is not there anymore, so maybe I'll sneak out this time. Don't bump into anything with your giant freaking sword. This is way harder than Metal Gear Solid. Alright, let's not bump... Who leaves a tea tray right there? Like right where Cloud is going to bump into it. I'm like
You're leaving?
Oh, no.
How do I get to
I got
Sector
caught.
7?
It's simple enough. Just cut through Sector 6. It isn't exactly safe, but you should be okay, seeing as you're a soldier.
Was one.
Promise me, you'll never talk to Aerith again. Please.
You got it.
Thank you.
Oh, well, that's a sad response. Now, in the original game, I spent much time walking around the house trying to find like little things, It's like, oh, you found an ether in the oven. You guys remember that? I used to do that in all the JRPGs. You like go look in every pot and in every dresser to find random little doodads that you could hopefully sell or use. Oh, there's a potion in here. So great, there's a potion in this oven. Look around here. Like, I mean, this looks really good. And this is on a PlayStation, This isn't even on like a PC. Look at this map a little bit. So this is Aerith's house. I'm gonna have to go through over this way. Okay. This will be fine. Hey David, thoughts on the Avengers game? I hadn't really looked into it. It didn't interest me, I guess. I saw a couple things. I'm like, it doesn't look like it's for me. But I've seen a lot of people just shitting on it a lot lately. They're like, it's boring, it's bland, and it looks like a pretty flashy thing. I remember a story about a playtester who did that. The devs thought he was just too stupid to figure out the map. Yeah, that's pretty good. Man, just like, if you were a fan of Final Fantasy VII, I'm not quite sure what
if
people...
If it isn't the new florist, I appreciate you helping the kids
whether
out
people
today.
would hate it or love it, but it's definitely like the environments are super detailed.
Oh, and make sure to give my thanks to Aerith, too.
Sure.
Hey, which way am I going? Oh, I guess I could go through like anywhere here. What's this star? Oh, that's the children's secret hideout. They're probably not there at night. This is like Children of the Corn or something. It'd be very creepy. You know, walking through this shanty town of... It's like diesel punk. I don't know, I like it.
I tried that new Chocobo fabric softener you mentioned. Doesn't it smell heavenly?
They're talking about fabric softener while they live in a dump. What the hell? So who wrote this banter? Shouldn't they be talking about, like... I found a great new recipe for boiling sewer rat. But then again, like, the slums aren't really that bad in the original. It's just kind of like, oh, people live there. There's, like, playgrounds in the slums and stuff, too. Like, who builds these? Maintains them? It's like, don't look too deep. Sorry, I tend to check little corners because I'm like, maybe there's something there. I've been trained by... Uh-oh, she caught me.
Well, look who it is. Talk about a coincidence.
What are you doing here?
Waiting.
Why?
Because I'm not sick of you yet.
Lead on, then.
With pleasure.
Chocobos are supposed to stink. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm having a memory of the alternate universe that was called playing this game in the 90s. Gaming in the 90s was awesome, guys. If you're younger than me, which I'm guessing a lot of you are.
Is something wrong?
Like,
It's
it was,
nothing.
it was, I did a whole video on this, like why vintage gaming is awesome. It's like back in the day, man, there was just no distractions. You could just come home from school and no one would be around and you could just play a game. And there was just nothing else to do. There was nothing else, there was no obligations. You know, maybe you needed to do homework. I usually didn't do it. Let's be honest, I didn't like homework. You know, as a teacher, I wouldn't assign homework. Oh, this music. I like this music. Yeah, so like gaming in the 90s was awesome. The 80s too. Just because it was... 80s was still had arcades though. Arcades were awesome. I miss arcades too. But like in the 90s, the PlayStation 1 era was pretty sweet. And I played a lot of PC games at that time too, so it was cool to go home and just like boot up a PC game and play a game for a couple hours and just that's all you had to do. Or just read, man. I used to just come home in an afternoon and just read a whole book. There was a point where, like, I would read, like, a book a day. You know, or I'd put on The Simpsons. They had, like, these 2-hour blocks of The Simpsons. Just practice guitar for 2 hours. Who cares? Nothing else to do. No obligations, no one to call, no social
They're still
media.
working on the new plate.
It was great.
I don't like this part of Midgar. Back when
Yeah.
they were still building Midgar, there was an accident, and the plate fell.
Oh, wow.
People had only just started moving in, so there weren't a lot living there at the time, but...
Xenogears. Oh, that was a good one. Chrono Trigger. Final Fantasy VI. I have Xenoblade Chronicles X for the Wii U. I should stream that sometime. I can set it up to stream it in my office. That's a cool one. What was I gonna say? So yeah, Jared, building muscle, lift weights, and if you think you're a hard gainer, it probably just means you're normal. Most people say, hey, if you really want to build muscle, eat like a 1 to 200 calorie surplus. 1 to 200 calories is like half a cookie, just so you know. Like, it's not a big surplus. So this whole idea, like, you got to cram your face with burgers to gain muscle is, don't do that. Just eat like a good diet and lift weights and you gain muscle. It takes a long time,
Wall Market, a real
you know,
special place.
to do it natty.
But I'm sure you already
Which
knew
you
that,
probably want to do it
right?
natural because,
I didn't tell you?
like, once you
enlisted...
once you start down the dark side, forever will it dominate your destiny.
or any of the slums.
Well, it took a lot of people to build Midgar, and they all needed to blow off steam.
Oh, this is
So
like
some traders built
yeah.
an entertainment district.
Red light
Inns,
district.
shops, bars, the works. folks started pouring in from all over. Business was booming, money was flowing, which attracted the attention of some guys who didn't much care for the law.
And now there isn't any.
Right. But instead of trying
Kitty,
to
you're making a lot of
settle the
noise
problem,
sitting by that
the
microphone.
government decided to just wall it in. And that's how
You're making a
Walmart
lot of
began.
noise, sweetheart.
Out of sight, out of mind, as the old saying goes.
I can hear it.
For the folks in charge, there's no better way to deal with it.
So it's like a giant veil.
Yeah. Want to see what's behind it?
Not really.
That's good. 'Cause I know a better way to get to Sector 7. One that, tragically, doesn't go through Wall Market. And it's just through this tunnel here. At least it was, back when I was a kid.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, once you start down the dark side, forever will it dominate your destiny. Once you start using a lot of performance enhancing drugs, your body adjusts to it. So like you won't be able to make your own natural testosterone. So when you go off, you start feeling like crap. You'll have to use, there's post-cycle therapies and stuff you can do that will help with that. But then like you start losing your gains, and that, it's a psychological thing. If you lose your gains, then you're going to hop back on cycle real fast, And, there's health consequences to doing that too. It can cause heart problems if your family, especially if your family has like a history of heart issues. That's why I don't do steroids, is there's some heart disease in my dad's side of my family, and I really want to. It's the main reason that I try to be healthy, is that I don't want to die young. I want to see my kids grow up. I want to see, I want to have grandkids.
It's been like this,
Like-
ever since the plate fell.
And there's no other way?
It'll be an adventure.
Now this is closed, but it does go somewhere, right? Like there's a little dark area there. So like, is there like a secret way in there? Because they put things in there like that, and I'm like, there's got to be something in there, right? Why would you draw the map there like that? Can I jump? Or like jump button. I like this music too. I gotta say, I think I've liked the redone soundtrack quite a bit. Uh-oh. This is kind of like a little dance track. This is weird.
That's Stewart right.
Frost. Start spinning when interrupted. Stop them from spinning and they become susceptible. Okay.
Deal with that.
So it's my turn?
Is that it?
Lizard.
Feeling chilly? One more shot! I'll put down ice. You can do it.
Hang back.
There we go. Yeah, this weird little dance track. This is weird, but I think I like it. Yeah, and I'm like, why doesn't this door open? Clearly, it's supposed to go somewhere. Oh man, it's 1 o'clock. I need to end the stream. Oh, and then the music like changes again. That's really rad. Let's make sure we save this. It's a little weird, like 80s synth thing. I like it. All right. Okay. Yeah, I probably need to hang it up. There was so much variety and innovation in 90s games. Completely agree. Modern games have the budgets too big for their own good, which limits any risk-taking. Exactly right. This is what's kind of interesting about this game, is like it surprisingly takes a large number of risks, considering it's a remake of Final Fantasy VII, like one of the most popular RPGs ever made. They didn't just remake it, they like made a different game. I'm kind of surprised. Took me 6 to 7 years to achieve notable natty stature. It sounds about right. Which book stuck with you as a youth? Tolkien, so Lord of the Rings, big time. First time I read Stormbringer, I read like the original Elric books like out of order because I just couldn't get them. So I read Stormbringer first, and that one really stuck with me. It was awesome. The Gunslinger by Stephen King, first of the Dark Tower series, the best of the Dark Tower series in my opinion. What other one stuck with me? Shogun, James Clavell's Shogun. Big time. That was one of my favorite books. It still is one of my favorite books. It's a great book. It's stylistically and written in a way that probably wouldn't fly today, but man, is that a good book. What a great story. Yeah, I miss arcades too, Rusty. They were cool. Like, arcades were cool because there was just an atmosphere to them. There was just so much mixing and stuff. It's a shame they took staff of Xenogears to start Final Fantasy VIII. Yeah, it was only 2/3 finished. Still a good game. Those who made video games in the 90s grew up with books, comics, and old TV and radio shows. Devs now grew up with video games and have suits messing with them to chase trends. Now, this is actually a really good point. It's kind of the same thing with comic artists you see in the 90s. Comic artists in the 90s started to be comic artists because they grew up with comic books rather than grew up with illustrations and studied illustration. So the technical capacity of comic artists starts to decline in the 90s, and everybody wants to look at Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld, actually, I think, you could definitely make a point he's not technically good, especially beginning of his career, but he had this explosive style that was far more interesting than a lot of his contemporaries who weren't as technically good, but also just weren't as interesting. And you got this same thing in rock music where people start to play canned solos. If you've ever seen Black Sabbath live, you'll notice that the solos aren't really canned. It's improvised solos. But what? That wasn't the solo I heard from the record? Yeah. Tony Iommi is a jazz guitarist. He comes from the jazz and blues tradition, and he created a new kind of music that was called heavy metal, basically, his own style. But he carried over the techniques from that previous music, which was jazz. That's where solos come from, is jazz, not from metal or something. So you get a whole generation of metal guitarists who don't understand what even soloing is supposed to be. I don't know if I've had this rant before, but that's what you're at with that. So anyway, you get that now with a lot of game devs. They grew up with games, not really with the story, so they don't think in the same way as the older devs. Yeah, if you don't get big, at least you get healthy. That's a great attitude. And the thing is like, big is relative. My wife used to think I had gigantic arms. She's like, your arms are huge. And I'm like, my arms are tiny. Well, who am I comparing them to? I see Jay Cutler at the gym. Of course I have tiny arms. But to my wife, they were huge, like back when we started dating. And mainly she was like, your legs are like gargantuan. I was like, I got good legs, I guess, but they're not gargantuan. It's like, well, again, you have to think about who you're comparing it to. It's like just a little bit bigger than average looks big, to normal people. And that's one of the things, like, you get into gym culture and you start to want to be that huge guy over there. It's not realistic. You have to, you have to think a little bit more realistically. A dude who works out that's natural is going to look really good to 90% plus of the population. Have you ever played any of the Breath of Fire games? Yes, 1, 2, and 3, I think. They're good. Baby steps, dude. If you can't lift 100 pounds, climb the ladder. Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's work at whatever your capacity is. A lot of times it's like, man, I want to bench press 500 pounds. It's like the people who bench press 500 pounds have a bunch of techniques that are used to bench press 500 pounds that have very little to do with them having just piles more muscle than you do. Strength training is a whole different beast, and powerlifting itself is a whole different set of techniques. Notice people who actually bench 500 pounds use like a back arch and all this other kind of stuff to change the angle at which they're benching so that you can just get a lot more weight. And if you're bodybuilding, the point is actually to do it the hardest way, not to do it the easiest way, not to make it easier. And like honest powerlifting coaches will tell you that the point of all these techniques is to make it easier so that you can be stacking on more and more weight, because the point's to lift as much as possible, not to like have the best pecs in the room. You know, it's just a different goal set, different set of goals. This is to break out by Black Sabbath to get what David's talking about. Yeah, I mean any of them really. I think Sabbath Bloody Sabbath has a ton of jazz stuff on it too. I never got into the gym thing. I only run 10K trips. I run like a 5. I mean, I don't run at all anymore now because it's poisonous outside. But I used to run a 5K a couple times a week. It's really good. Running's really good for you. Anything that moves your body through space, I feel like, is like one of the best health things. Yeah, my friend Mike was like, "Why don't you ever, film this stuff?" Mike's a former Navy SEAL, right? And their training, like they do weightlifting, of course, but like the intense stuff that like makes Navy SEALs elite athletes, it's all moving your body through space kind of stuff, It's going out and running, carrying heavy things, like that's what's intense. Swimming, I mean, the cardio stuff is what's like that maximum intensity stuff. They still do a ton of strength training too. Yeah. I'm thinking hiking with backpack is one of the best training methods. Yeah, hiking's really fun and it's good for you. And the thing is, because you're at a low intensity, you can do it all day, and it'll burn off a crap ton of calories, and it's also just will improve your cardiovascular health in a general way that you're not really perceptive of till you've been doing it a while. I used to hike a lot. I used to spend a lot of time outdoors. I spend still a lot of time outdoors. I live in the country, but it used to be a lot more when I was younger. You get in really good shape that way. Yeah, we're meant to be mobile. And the thing about walking or hiking is it's something, if you can't do it all day, then that's where you know a fitness deficit is. You should be able to walk literally all day. And if you can't walk literally all day, then that's you being out of shape. That's just how it is. Because that's what we're made to do. That's what our ancestors did. They walked literally all day long. They moved all day long. That's why they could eat crazy amounts and still be starving. You just like run, you chase the antelope till it just dies of exhaustion, and then you eat it. It's like, how do Kenyans run so well? It's like, man, that's like the ancestral runner right there is the Kenyan. It's like chasing down the antelope till he dies of exhaustion. Like this stuff, I love this music. I just like listening to this music for a minute. It's cool. Am I going the right way? Did I already smash these boxes? No, I think I got turned. No, I didn't get turned around. I have to go back this way. Wait. No, am I going backwards? I feel like I'm going backwards. Yeah, I think I'm going backwards. Is this where I think this is where I fought those things? Yes, no? I don't know. Locker room music. Yeah. Yeah, we're going this way. Yeah, this is cool music. Oh, see, yeah, there's a dragon. All right. I'm actually gonna go ahead and call it there for tonight, guys. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And should I play Final Fantasy VII Original before the remake is the question. I would if you've never played Final Fantasy VII. There's a bunch of different versions out there. The last one I played was the Switch, Nintendo Switch version. It's good. It's actually based on the Final Fantasy VII beta. If you have the original PS1 discs, it's probably, I don't know if that's the best way to play it. I mean, it's going to look choppy compared to modern graphics, but I think if you had a PS1, PS2 with the CRT and the original discs, that's the best way to play it. And it really does look better on a CRT. But, the Switch version's good. PC version's fine as well. I think you could probably get it on your phone. So if you haven't played it before, it's good to play. I don't think it's required. There's a bunch of little things that they hint at in this game where they're kind of playing around with the idea that people have already played the original Final Fantasy VII. But anyway, play whatever game you want to play. If this gameplay looks good, play it, and Then you could play, oh, I want to see what happens next. You can get through this entire phase in like 6 hours or something. Probably less. It's not even all of disc 1 from the original game. This is really decompressed. Anyway, guys, I gotta go. I'll talk to y'all later, because I need to go to bed. But I do appreciate it, and I'll probably see you. I probably won't stream at a normal time tomorrow, but I'll have an update on the channel and on Twitter. So take it easy.